Well, would you believe it? This channel, or at least the first video on this channel, I don't know if we created it a couple of days before, but the first video on this channel is 1 year old today. We've been going for a year, on and off, which is weird. It feels like it was very recently that we started, but also a lot longer than a year that we've been going, which is very odd. But yeah, we're a year old, so I thought I would just do a bit of a video talking about that, talking about the channel and the future of the channel, which I'll just mention now, before you inevitably go off and watch, more engaging videos. I don't blame you. Just talking about the sketches, because they've done alright, especially the first one, in terms of the amount of views it's got, which if you look at it, it's not, massive amounts, but it's like double what I expected it to get. So there are more of those on the way. I don't know when the next ones will be coming, probably sometime next week. Realistically, I really don't know. Yeah, but thank you for sort of engaging with those, and people seem to enjoy them. People find them funny. I've heard things from people Paul's spoken to who said they found them really funny. So it's great to see that they're doing well. I'm also, I'm not just doing those. I have somewhat more of a reason outside of the channel to make those. So unlike some of the things that you may have seen over the channel, over the history of the past year, where I've tried things and they've not quite worked and I've given up, this has got a decent response anyway, and I'm not just doing it for the sake of the channel, so it's sort of a win-win. So there are definitely going to be more of those on the way. Yeah, that's coming in the next year. Let's talk about the first year of the channel. We started the channel, obviously, in November. I remember we started the podcast because we were just talking. We'd be chatting on Xbox and stuff. And we'd say, I can't remember, I think, sometimes Paul would be like, we could do a podcast. It just was rambling. Because we would, it'd oftentimes just be me and him, just chatting to each other. And we thought it might be really funny if, that sentence really got away from me, didn't it? We thought it would be funny and fun if we sort of recorded our conversations and put them on. But it was never like a idea, really. It was just sort of a suggestion. I think I was more like, yeah, we should, and Paul was it was a jokey suggestion. And then I was writing personal statements and stuff for universities, and I thought I kind of need something to put on this that will make me stand out. And I thought I wanted to do the podcast anyway, and it would be a good thing to put on a personal statement. So we did it, and I just sort of kind of rushed it along in a week, and we recorded the first episode, and then it took like 2 weeks till we found time to record another, and after a few weeks we got into a routine of doing it every week, and we kept that up for until we ended it. So we started it for a personal statement, and I've not gone to university now, if you couldn't tell. I've said at home I've got better things to do in my life. I've got, plans for the future, and I'm on a course, but it's not like a full-time 12-month course. It's a long story, and you probably don't really care too much to hear it. Also, most of the people who watch these videos know me anyway, so they'll already know. I remember the first video we put, the first episode. I sent an email to a podcast called Big Damn Cast. I'll put the image of that here. If you haven't listened to that and you liked our podcast when we did it, you listened to that and you did enjoy it and you haven't checked these guys out, definitely go do that, because they're like what we tried to do, but good. Better send an email to them to sort of promote ourselves on that. And I remember listening to the episode of our podcast where they read it out. They really liked the name MasterCast, which was Paul's idea. That was Paul came up with that name. That wasn't me. And I remember we put the first episode of the podcast up, and it got nothing. It got no views. No one came from Big Jamcast, and I remember that was sort of a bit of a slap in the face. That kind of stung, and we carried on for a few more episodes. I think we did like 3 episodes, and and then we weren't getting anything, and we opened it up to social medias. Put it on our Snapchat stories and stuff, which I had not wanted to do initially, because there's I have a lot of friends on Snapchat, but you know how it is on social media. You just sort of have people as your friends, even if you don't speak to them all that much. And because the podcast was very much who I am in terms of, I'm a big old nerd, but when I'm around people in public, I sort of act like I try and come across like I'm really cool, and I don't really give a shit, and that's not really who I am at all. I'm a big old nerd. You can see in the sketch bed, I've got, on the wall over there, I've got Doctor Who posters and Harry Potter posters. On the wall above me, there's a Marvel thing. Down there, there's books on Star Wars and Marvel, and I'm a big old nerd. And I was sort of anxious to put that out there to people who might, I don't know, I think I was sort of nervous of people making fun of me, although it's not that type of thing anymore. Liking those things isn't sort of socially unacceptable like it used to be, in a way. Do you know what I mean? But when we opened it up to Snapchat stories and stuff, it did pretty well. The first episode of the podcast is still the second best, just in terms of sheer views, is still the second best video on the channel. But it did pretty well, and we carried it on, and we were enjoying it. And I remember, because there were guys in one of my classes at college who were sort of more laddie lads than I am. Because I'm not sure if you could tell, but I'm not particularly a lad. But I would put, when they sort of noticed, I started putting sort of blurry images on the story. They found it anyway, so it was sort of pointless, but I probably shouldn't have done that, really. But yeah, so we carried it on. I don't remember exactly where it got to, but the views started diminishing, and you'd be in single figures at an episode of the podcast, and some people would say, it's just too long. It's too long. And we always wanted to push it to at least an hour, because the podcasts I listen to are over an hour, they're pretty substantial, and that's what we were going for. Yeah, so it just sort of grew a bit stale, and I thought we need to do something about this. We need to sort of rejuvenate a bit. And that's when we came up with the MasterCast minis. It was sort of my idea. The plan with those was to make short 10-15 minute videos focusing on one topic that we might then also talk about in the full length podcast. And the first one of that do pretty well. In terms of the views we were getting at the time, obviously. When I say videos do pretty well, you look at them, they're not millions of views, obviously, but as a basis of the amount of views we get generally, 40's pretty good. Yeah, I did another one the next day. Carried it on, and we carried those on for a bit, and then again they also sort of started to stagnate. But around that time, that was when Avengers Endgame was close to coming out, and there was a video series created by YouTuber Nando V Movies. I'll put his icon there. If you don't watch him, do that. Sort that out now. Called One Marvelous Scene. He gathered a load of content creators, people, the type of people I watch, people who make video essays, and talk about these types of films, and they all did a video titled One Marvelous Scene, and he encouraged people at the end of that video to make their own, and he'd add it to a playlist. I saw that opportunity and took it, and obviously that video, that video's, most of our videos are single figure, maybe double figure views. That one's in quadruples, 4-figure numbers. It's in the thousands. I remember, I think it was it might have been the day that went out. I was at work, and I remember sort of watching the number of views go up, just sort of continually. And that was just so great. I remember talking to Paul about it, and it was on like 700 views, and he couldn't believe it. He was so surprised that we made a video and that many people were seeing it. It's now on like 10 times that amount of views. But it was, that was great, and obviously we'd never hit that again. I didn't expect to. But I did, before I started recording this, I thought, I might go and watch that video again, and I watched maybe a minute and clicked off because I wasn't engaged. So I can't really blame other people for doing that with our videos. When you look at the audience retention and the average view time, people don't make it through the whole video, and I kind of get why. It's not a great video. I don't know that I'm necessarily proud of it, really. I think for the time I did a good job, and it got us some more recognition, and we did get some more subscribers from that. Some of them may even be watching this video, probably not, but you never know. And then we just sort of carried on. I did a reaction video to the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, and then didn't do any other reaction videos, although we called one a reaction video about Detective Pikachu, but it wasn't really, because at that point, reaction videos are supposed to be sort of immediate, aren't they? But that was like an hour after we'd seen the film, we recorded that. And then, as it went on, as much as I enjoyed making the podcast, and I did, I didn't want to carry it on for the sake of it if no one was going to listen to it. So I decided to put it on hold. It still currently is on hold, obviously. And we ended it, and and that was the end of the podcast. Then I decided, okay, I want to bring it back. I want to get more of an audience. So I sort of came up with an idea. I'd had an idea after watching Avengers Endgame about changing the final scene of the film. And I thought, hey, I know a YouTuber who makes content about changing scenes from films to make them better, which obviously is Nando V Movies. And I thought, what if I do that like one of his videos? What if I make a video like one of his? And then I thought, well, what if I do that with loads of YouTubers? Not like loads, but a couple of the YouTubers I watch, and sort of make it a series, the In the Style Of series. There are 2 videos in the Style Of in that series. There's an End of Me movies one, which, if you look, isn't about Avengers Endgame, because I didn't have the right footage for it, and it wasn't working. So I scrapped it and I made it about Doctor Who, even though that channel has never talked about Doctor Who ever before. I don't know. And then also there's one which was a lot easier to make, the Iron Man armor ranking one. Neither of those did particularly well. The Ace Creeper one got a shout out on Twitter, but not much really came of it. The Nano V Movies one, I tweeted him twice because the first time it got copyright claimed, and I tweeted it to him twice, and neither times he sort of, I don't know if he didn't see it or didn't care. Whatever, I don't hold a grudge or anything. It's not a good video. I do a dumb voice in it. You can go and watch it if you want. Some people have. From the sketches, they've gone back and looked at it, which is nice, I suppose, but as I say, it's a bit embarrassing. I do a silly voice. Yeah, there were meant to be more in this style of videos. I even prematurely made thumbnails because they were easy to do. They're easier than making the actual videos. I'll show you some of them. There are these two. I think I did 3 others, but these 2 are the ones that I'm quite proud of. If you just look at those, and then go to you can see the names of their channels in the thumbnails. Compare those thumbnails to the thumbnails of the actual channels. I think they're pretty decent. I was quite proud of them. But nothing ever came of those because I didn't get an immediate positive, I didn't get an immediate viewer boost from those videos, so I didn't carry it on because I just didn't have the drive to. I didn't have the passion to. If I had, would it have worked? Maybe, but also, when it didn't, and I look at it now and I think it's not really a great strategy of getting people on board, because you're not hooking them in with your content, you're hooking them in with other people's content. You have to make sure your content is just as engaging as the other people's content, and it wasn't. It's just me stood in front of a green screen. It's not interesting. And then things just sort of went quiet. I remember I filmed a video with Paul and another mate of ours. It's called the MasterCast Roundtable. We filmed it after we first saw Spider-Man Far From Home, and it's not on the channel. I never put it up. I sort of edited it, but it's not happened. If you want to see that, the idea was it was, what was a franchise where people don't necessarily like the films that come out in that franchise, but the franchise doesn't stop it. They continue to make films anyway. And we had a discussion about that, and it was quite funny, but it's not up. I might put it up. I might do. Let me know if you want to see it. I feel like I should, just out of obligation to our mate who came around and recorded it, and it was his idea, and I just never put it up. And if you are watching at this point, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. And then we went quiet until recently. My initial idea was to make short films. I wrote one, it wasn't very good, and I couldn't get the people because everyone was going on holiday, because this was during summer, everyone was going on holiday, and then by the time everyone got back from holiday, everyone was going to university, so it just never happened. Then I was watching sketches on YouTube, Tom Scar, and Jack and Dean. Here they are. If you don't know who Jack and Dean are, if you haven't watched any of their videos, and if you have been enjoying the sketches so far, definitely go check these guys out, because they were basically the whole inspiration for it. And when I wrote many of the sketches, I wrote them with me and Paul taking up one of the roles of either Jack or Dean. There's also a bit of a Monty Python influence in there, but I think there is in a lot of sketch comedy, so that's just sort of subconscious. I remember we were filming the Halloween sketch, and the initial back and forth and that, we're filming that, and Paul's going, this is just the Monty Python argument sketch. Not in like a, this is not original kind of way, but it was like, this is what it evokes, it's what it feels like. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess it kind of is. And people seem to enjoy the sketches, which brings us up to now, and I've just sort of rambled. I never ever write a script for these types of videos, and I always regret it. I want to mention Paul, because obviously he's not in this video. I've not messaged him yet, but I think I will do probably. And I might get him to film something and send it over, and if he does, I'll put it, maybe it's somewhere in the video near the end, maybe, I don't know. But I've got to give a bit of a shout out, you know, got to give him props, because obviously he's done he's the guy I've done the podcast with, and he's been in the sketches, and you know, he doesn't have the same, for him, the idea of a podcast was more of a joke. It wasn't really serious, as I mentioned. And he was amazed when we were getting 700 views on a video. I always had bigger ambitions for it. Of course, we never achieved the goals that I wanted. But, you know, he doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say he doesn't care, but he doesn't have the same, if it doesn't get loads of views, he doesn't really mind. You know, he does the podcast because he enjoys it, and he does the sketches because I ask him to. And he's, you know, he's been great at that, and he continues to do it. And he, you know, I've made him do some weird stuff, especially with the sketches, and you know, he's just done it. Yeah, and I, you know, and we wouldn't have got nearly as many views, especially on the sketches, if, you know, without him also promoting it. I wouldn't have been able to get those views on my own. He's been really instrumental in getting a good amount of viewership. Also, I've got to give another bit of a shout out, and I don't like doing names. I don't like addressing people by name in videos. I don't know if you can tell. I don't know why. It just sort of feels weird, and because I sort of look at it as I want to get to a point where I'm reaching a big audience. Sort of, I don't know. I just find it odd. But I've got to mention Sarah Bromley, who has, I'm assuming, been there, been you know, watching our stuff since the start of the podcast. Really, she's the only person who she left a review on Castbox of the podcast, which was really positive. She's followed us on our social media. She's like, basically, it feels like I'm a more fan, and I don't know, if you're watching this, thank you, because it's, you know, as I say, it's nice to know that people are enjoying what you're putting out, and you know, to see someone who goes out of their way to comment on your stuff and gives you a good review, it's really gratifying, and yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, this has been a big old dumb ramble, as most of my videos have, but that's the first year of MasterCast, in a nutshell. A very big, sort of cracked open door. We tried to stick it together. It's not really working in a nutshell. But as I say, the future of the channel is more sketches, and hopefully the podcast will come back. I'm gonna try and, you know, bash out some more sketches before the end of the year, and hopefully in the new year we'll bring the podcast back, because we both want to. We both enjoyed doing it, and if I said to Paul tomorrow, "Do you fancy doing the podcast again?" he'd go, "Yeah." But you know, as I keep saying, I don't want to do it if no one's there to watch it. But hopefully we'll bring it back, and if we do, I'm going to try and make it a bit better, and just look a bit better. You may have you've probably noticed if you've been here a while, we've sort of changed the font that we use for everything, and we sort of made everything just look a bit more sort of professional. But that big sort of blocky font, I don't know, man. Because I think the moment of realization for me that it's a bit of a sort of strange font to use was I saw it in the thumbnail of a video just him I recommended on my YouTube feed, and I thought, that's not a thumbnail that draws me in with that font, and it was the font I was using. So we've got a new font now. It's just a bit more simple, and yeah, hopefully it sort of represents a sort of a new direction in terms of how we're approaching the stuff we're putting out on the channel. Yeah. There was also supposed to be a behind the scenes video for the first 2 sketches. I've still got the footage that I filmed on the day, but it wasn't really, and I did film a thing here just sort of talking about it, but I don't know. If you want to see it, let me know. But if you enjoyed this video, this little look down memory lane, me talking about the future, the past of the channel, like the video, share the video, continue to share the sketches, continue to watch the sketches, follow us on our social medias on Instagram at MasterCast Official, and on Twitter at _master_cast. I don't really post too much on there, but I might do if we have more followers, who knows. Please stick with us. I am hoping, it's coming up to Christmas soon, and I'm hoping to get, I'd like to get a bit more of a professional quality camera, and camera equipment. And I'm talking spending a fair amount of money to really up the quality of the videos. So stick with us. Let us know you're supporting us if you are, because it's just nice to know that people are enjoying what you're doing, and people do want to see more of what you're doing. That sort of is what keeps me making stuff, because if something doesn't immediately, like with the in the style of videos, like with the podcast as it went on, if something isn't giving me, if I'm not getting sort of something from content that I'm making sort of immediately, I'll just give up. I have given up many things. I'm not giving up with the sketches, because they did better than I expected. They did so much better than I expected, and it's really nice to see, and it's really nice to hear feedback from people via Paul and mates who've watched it, saying that it is really funny. They are funny, people enjoy them, and they're laughing at them. He was saying that he was talking to his mates, they were watching the bed sketch, and they died at the that's a very weird way of telling that story, but they found the end gag where Paul starts singing the song "There Are Two in the Bed." They found that really funny, it's nice to know that, because you want to leave on a really strong joke, and the last jokes have been successful, which is really nice. So more sketches are on the way. Yeah. I'm going to end the video now. This has gone on for too long. No one's even watching at this point. Are they? Right. Bye.